Welcome to Washington in Focus. I'm Brett Davis. Joining me today is the Center Square's Western Washington reporter, Spencer Pauley. This week, you authored a story headlined, South King County Cities Seek Unified Drug Enforcement Amidst Failed Blake Fix. This has to do with the fact that the legislature this session failed to pass a bill to create a solution to a 2021 state Supreme Court decision, the so-called Blake decision, that essentially decriminalized drug possession. The legislature went ahead that year and reclassified drug possession as a misdemeanor, but the provisions of that law run out on July 1. So basically, counties and cities are on their own right now to craft their own drug policies. Now, you spoke to some of those, the mayor of one of those cities. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I interviewed Auburn Mayor Nancy Backus yesterday, and we talked about how basically the King County cities and just all throughout Western Washington, the cities are scrambling to find their own local enforcement of drug possession, because by July, there won't be one unless the state does a special session.
And that is a possibility.
Absolutely. I know Inslee is working to get that done. I think what's interesting about what Backus told me is that, at least what she's talking to with King County cities and in Pierce County, which is just south, they're just trying to find legislation that doesn't confuse people and that's very much in the same guidelines, same laws, so that people can not be so confused of what the drug laws are in each city, which there's plenty of.
Now, as I understand things, they're going with the treatment forward approach. Is that correct?
Yeah. So what it seems like is a lot of the cities are looking at treatment forward approaches. They're providing diversion programs, resources. But what Backus told me is that this is also more expensive. So if this goes through and you see enforcement on a local level, you're going to see more and more competition for grant funding. Cities are going to be looking into their own budgets to fund this. What Backus told me is that you can't really put a price on individuals' lives, so there's not much of a choice. Now, what's interesting is that she, in a lot of the South King County cities, and even in Snohomish County and Pierce counties, they're looking at violators being charged with gross misdemeanors. Now, the one exception is in the city of Seattle, where they would be seeking out a misdemeanor charge, which is only 90 days or $1,000 in fines, whereas a gross misdemeanor is 364 days in jail and $5,000 in fines.
Now, you mentioned cost earlier. Do you have any specifics on that?
I do not have a price tag on that for sure, but one thing that Mayor Backus told me is that one thing that could help is the crisis care center levy that's looking like it's going to be passed out of the special election that happened this week. This would help fund 5 centers for mental health treatment by the King County, and this is a 15-cent property tax levy on within King County. This could help lower costs, but from what she told me, this price is going to be just higher than what it is right now.
That would be an interesting follow-up story to find out how much the lack of a Blake fix had to do with the levy passing.
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting to see how everyone's moving to so fast to just respond to this Senate bill failure. Everyone wants enforcement done, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if the legislature actually does, convene with a special session. I don't know how it's going to play out if each individual, city and county has their own drug laws, which I guess is part of the reason why these mayors in South King County are getting together so they can, all be on the same page, basically, or largely on the same page. We'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Things will move fast, that's for sure.
Speaking of the special session, Jay Inslee was talking about it yesterday at a press conference, and he said he was looking for a date in May, so he's working to make that happen. So we will see if that happens. So.
It seems like, and notably, I think local jurisdictions kind of want law enforcement on their own hands. I remember Snohomish County Council Member Nate Nering said before the Blake fix, the county was making strides against drug use and drug possession within the county. And once the Blake decision was made, they just had issues, and the drug epidemic has worsened out there. And you might be able to say the same thing within King County, Pierce County, and throughout the state.
Yes, it's quite a mess. It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out in the coming months and years. So listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com. For Spencer Pauley, this is Brett Davis. Please subscribe, and thanks for listening.